RC Lawn Chair Pilots podcast. I have the sound working this time.
Yes.
I hope.
So,
we'll find out when this is all edited.
We'll see if it's a better sound quality than last time. Not that last time was horrible, just
it was bad.
Could have been better.
I apologize for last time. I forgot to make sure my recording was set up right.
So we had to use the backup recording.
So we should sound pretty good tonight.
Yes, we should.
But thank you for returning. Thank you for joining us. Let's get into this, shall we?
Yeah, I'm excited about today.
I am so sad and scared and excited and so many emotions. It is truly terrible. So
I'm going to save that,
let's
I think.
Let's start with what's new.
Okay.
So, any news since the last time?
Yeah, I got lots of news.
Okay, we'll keep it categorized according to our show notes.
So, what'd you get new? You go first.
Okay, so
because our show note says you're first.
I had a lot of things come in. I have been getting lots of packages lately because I can't help myself. I donate plasma to fund my, as my wife puts it, addiction.
To RC?
Yes. So
there's worse things you could be addicted to.
It's true. So I have several large-scale airplanes, or not several. I have 2 large-scale airplanes. I'm building a third one, as you guys have heard, or as we've told you. And with these nitro airplanes, you run nitro motors. They're actual internal combustion motors.
Yes.
Most people just test them, like when you're preparing them and setting them up, the engines and everything, you just mount them to your plane and you test them there. The other option is a test stand. So what I have here, for those that can't see, for those that can and can't see, there is this saddle-shaped block or bracket with 2 sets of blocks on top of it. There you can go for the video. What you do is you clamp the mounting plates of the engine into the block.
The blocks, okay.
And then, so all this will get mounted onto a board so it doesn't go flying around. But you mount the engine in here, and then behind it is a fuel tank that'll get plugged into it and everything. And then I have a cord
for your throttle.
For my throttle control, so I can manually control it, and that way I can find the perfect low idle position and the high RPM position, just play with it in between. So I got that. I ordered that May 16th. So
it's been a little while.
It has been a long time coming. It came from the
big
fuel
tank.
14 ounces. That's the biggest I looked at the company that makes them. That's the biggest they make.
Wow, that is a big
fuel tank. So I've got a 14-ounce fuel tank. I've test fitted my little Fox 15 and my Sato FA82.
And they both fit?
They both fit. The Fox 15, I have to get tricky and barely clamp onto it with the front end of the blocks.
Okay.
But it fits. Because otherwise the adjustment screws are in the way.
Oh, okay.
So I've got that in. So my next step with that is to mount it up onto a block and get it actually set up so that I can put an engine in it and run it.
So you can fly a block around.
Yeah.
Well,
I can strap a block down and see how it works.
Hopefully it doesn't fly around.
Yeah, right.
I suspect there'll be fingertips missing soon.
Yeah, I could lose a finger or 2. Well, okay. So there's
we talked about that little one.
Engine, talked about it last time. But I put a prop on the big one, on my Sato FA82. This is, for those that can see, that is a 13-inch master air screw prop. And it is just monstrous.
Yeah, it is.
So that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for that thing to run. I got a new toy for my transmitter. So with transmitters, you can get transmitter kickstands, basically. And I got one. So now, for those that can see in the video,
that is pretty sweet. So it holds it at about a 45-degree angle, I'd say.
Roughly, yeah. So
yeah. And
you can kind of see that at the
that's
bottom
actually
of the
pretty nice.
So it just kind of keeps it up off the back, especially when I'm working on my desk here. I don't want to either prop it up vertically or lay it down, because if I have a plug, the plugs are in the back, and if I have those plugged in, it's nice to have it sitting up at an angle where I can still work with it, and I'm not putting weird pressure on the plugs.
Yeah, that's actually really nice.
So I think, and I got a whole bunch of just other wires and servos making stuff.
Cool.
That is the extent of the recent new stuff with me. So let's hear you, Steven.
So I got in my ELF DLG
Yay!
discus launch glider, in case you're wondering about that. We'll go into a little bit more detail of that thing a little bit later, but I did get it put together. So I got a XJT module for my
QX7.
yeah. And this allows me to fly or interact with more receivers. So those that can see on the video, it's right there, plugs into the back. But this is the XJT access telemetry. It's 2.4 gigahertz. That was easy for me to say.
Yeah.
And it plugs right into the back of my TARANIS QX7S in this case. And I haven't connected to any of my receivers, but I have a receiver that is the Free Sky VD5M 5-channel receiver, and that module makes them compatible now.
Yeah,
so I can connect with those.
Yeah, because that receiver runs on really old protocol.
Yeah.
And the only way to use it is with the XJT module.
Yes, and that gives me access to those older modules. I mean, those older protocols and stuff. So I'm super excited. But because my elf came in, I've been playing around with that. So that is pretty cool.
So we'll get to your elf in a minute.
Yeah, I got a story on the elf.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Products you're using. Let's hear about those.
Okay.
I know some of them go with your elf.
Yes. So I have my 2 receivers. I've got the VDM5 or VD5M that I haven't used yet. And then I have this receiver right here.
The RX4R.
Which is, yes, the RX4R.
Yep.
Which is a 4-channel receiver. And all of these were sold by...
You purchased them all through Aloft Hobbies.
Yes, thank you. I got them all through Aloft Hobbies. So check them out.
Yep.
They are not sponsoring this, but they have access to, and they sell a lot of good products. So
they are one of the few Free Sky dealers in the United States.
So if you're
they're awesome.
Going to go the Free Sky module transmitter, then this is, they're a great place to go.
Yeah. That's where I've been getting all of my RC related stuff. Like I've put in the last 6 months, I've put in 5 or 6 different orders through them. Everything has come in beautifully, perfect shipping. They're a great company. Carry on.
Yes. Also, my Elf DLG came from Connect. It's out of Texas. Now the name just left me.
We've said it before.
Yeah, we did. Anyway, those are in the show notes from last week because we talked about it last week. So that's that. And then I'm using for the Elf DLG, I am using these HS40 economy nano servos. They're awesome. I would show you, but they're just really, really tiny servos. I had to do some minor modifications to get them to not shrink them up, but to get a tighter fit because I was going for a nice tight fit.
They're the smallest servos that High-Tech makes.
Yes,
and they're 4 grams. 5 grams, just under 5 grams.
Just under 5 grams, 4.7 grams, I think, or something like that.
Really good servo.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Very good. I have been impressed with them so far. For my elf, I'm using the Dromeda.
1S LiPo battery?
Yes, it's from my drones that I have. So it's a really good battery, actually, and it's fairly lightweight.
Everything's running fine off that 1S.
Yeah, it's a 3.7 volt, which is perfect. Yeah, works great.
Servos respond and everything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was working great. The model number on that is DIDE 1547. They're $5, I think, a piece or something. It's been a while since I purchased some. You have to look them up, but most of those are pretty much at any hobby store. I got mine from a local hobby store called Vortex Hobbies. And
another great hobby store.
Yeah, they're based out of Utah, so check them out. They are online, but a great hobby store. And I was surprised, but the battery ran great.
Nice.
Not any of my issues today. We'll get to some of this a little bit later. So, what about you? What are you using? What's new? I mean, we talked about some of your new stuff already, but
I've only done some flying. I've got plans for coming up that I'll get into later. But so like products and stuff that I'm using right now or plan to be using, I need a new soldering iron because the one I have is old and garbage.
I need to put that on my list also.
So Home Depot sells a soldering station with a adjustable temperature knob.
You showed me that.
Yes.
I need to go get me that. What was that one cost?
It's $40.
Oh, that is nice. That is nice because it's got the adjustable temperature.
I think it maxes out at 40 watts, which is like the low end of what you want for a soldering iron.
But that's not bad.
But still an adjustable temperature and a whole base and everything with the pad. So I'm going to be getting that this weekend because I forgot to earlier this week. And then I'll need that for my upcoming projects because I need to create some servo extensions, which is why I ordered all that servo wire and stuff. But then also all the glues I'm going to be using. I kind of wanted to talk about that for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Because we used those during the build of your glider.
Yes. And I actually got me some the glues too.
Which is why you never came over to finish the glider.
Correct.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Not that you weren't welcome.
No, and that's another thing I'll mention real quick because Vortex Hobbies and West Valley Hobby are the two stores that I frequent for my hobby selections, and they're both obviously based out of Utah. Check them out. I think they both have a web presence.
Only Vortex.
Only Vortex. West Valley doesn't.
West Valley has a website, but they haven't put anything up on it.
Okay.
And it's been that way for years.
Yeah. So, but you can check them out, and that's where I found the servos, and it was awesome. Anyway, go back.
Both stores are great. So glue, when you're working on a model, be it foam or balsa or carbon fiber and foam, there's several glues you can use. The first one the first type is called CA glue. Here on the video, you can see I've got two types here. The CA stands for cyanoacrylate or cyanoacrylate. I forget which. It's basically super glue. And it comes in various varieties. Oh, hey, look at that.
It says it right there.
Cyanoacrylate. Yeah, I had it right. Okay. Cyanoacrylate. So the way these glues work is, well, there's several. You can get a super thin one, which is very, very wet and makes a mess and gets everywhere really fast.
I have new fingerprints now because of it.
While we were gluing up his glider, I glued my fingers together twice with a brand new bottle of thin.
I had a brand new bottle of thin when I was working on some of the gluing of mine, and I had tissue paper on my fingers for 2 days. Yeah,
it's the worst. And then there's medium CA, which is a lot slower and thicker. And then there's a thick CA, and then there's even a foam safe CA. So like if you're working on an EPP or an EPO foam plane,
this stuff will eat it.
Yeah, this stuff will burn right through it.
Yeah.
So you get the foam safe stuff to work on the foam planes. So there's that glue. Then another glue that you use quite commonly is epoxy.
Yep. Two-part, and they have
2-part epoxy.
2 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute, depending on what you want.
30-minute, yeah.
And 30 minutes.
So I have some 5-minute epoxy and some 30-minute epoxy up there. But I use those are my go-to on the plane that I'm going to start working on this coming week. I'm going to be using a lot of epoxy to put it together and hold everything in place. And I'll actually be using the 5-minute a lot, just because most of what goes on there is just you put a little bit in and you just kind of tack it in place. There's very few spots that actually get a lot of glue. Yeah. I've been reading through the manual to make sure I'm prepared. And then when you're working with balsa models, you use a lot of CA glue, occasionally epoxy. And then some people like using traditional wood glue. Like the brand is called Tight Bond.
Isn't that heavier though?
It's not necessarily heavier. I think the difference is minimal.
Okay.
But the benefit of that is you can get everything in position, apply your glue, and then you still have time to work and move it around.
Yeah.
But then you have to like clamp it down and leave it and don't touch it until it's dry for 24 hours.
Yeah, whereas the CA glue
sets up.
Yeah, you have seconds.
Yeah, like
depending on the substance that you're gluing it to.
Yeah, the thin CA you have 1 to 3 seconds. The medium CA you have 5 to 15. And then you can also get what's called CA glue accelerator that you spray on it and it'll instantly harden the glue. So
Yeah, its stuff is insane.
It's meant to be worked with quick. So it's really good for that, but it's quick. So I just wanted to kind of cover that, and I'll go because I'll be using a lot of it, and we just used a decent amount of it for your project. So there you go.
Yeah. And it was nice setting up some stuff for my flyer, the glider. Yeah.
All right,
so
let's
see.
skip the next section and go over to project updates.
Oh, you want to skip that one?
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
So let's hear about your building.
Okay.
Well, hang on. Do I have any? No. Okay. So I'll do real quick, and then we'll jump to you.
Okay.
Then you can flow from
right into
right into
perfect.
the mess.
Perfect. Go
So
on.
the next plane I'm building is the Phase 3 EF-16. It's a ducted fan foam jet.
Okay.
And I'm super excited for that because it should be pretty quick to put together. And I got it from a buddy at work, and he's super excited to see that one fly. I think he's holding off giving me a lot of his other old planes until I get this one built and up in the air. So I'm getting it built and up in the air.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm going to start work on that. I'll be using all those glues. And once I get that up and flying, that should be a lot of fun. It's supposed to be a crazy fast airplane. But
that should be. I'm excited to see you fly that. That would be fun.
I'm really scared to fly it.
Yeah. Well, I should have had a little more fear, but we'll talk about that. I mean, anyway. Right. So my the project, right? The elf. I got the elf in, the elf DLG, and I put it all together. It was actually a nightmare to put together. I needed to really, that's why I had some larger servos. They just weren't working, so I had to go get the smaller servos.
Thinking back on it, we made a bit of a mistake getting you a kit for your first plane.
Yeah.
Rather than something that's a little more pre-built.
Yes. Well, I mean,
this would be considered an ARF, almost ready to fly. You just had to put in the servos, make your connections, and you only had two control surfaces to put together.
Don't get me wrong. Even though it was a pain, I learned a lot, and I enjoyed doing it. But I was terrified that I was going to break something.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is my first plane.
Yeah.
And so every time I touched the foam, I thought for sure that foam was going into a million pieces.
Yeah.
Everything is so lightweight. It's so delicate. I mean, it's actually fairly strong.
Oh, yeah.
But it feels delicate.
Oh, yeah.
So I finished putting that together. It took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Getting the RC or the receiver tucked in nice and tight. I actually moved it 3 different times. I put some extra holes for the antennas to go through.
I need to do that on mine.
We can show that in just a minute. I don't want to show it just yet. And then getting the servos fit so they sat where I was getting the right kind of tension that I wanted, and that I was going to fit inside of the nose.
And then get your balance right.
Well, and I don't even know if it flew. I have video, but
flying's a loose qualifier for balance.
Yeah,
being correct.
So getting all that to fit was kind of, like I said, I had to modify because it came with the attachment for the rod was a 4. I had 4. It was
the control horn on the servo.
Thank you. The control horn on the servo had 4 connecting points. North, south, east, south. Yeah. So I trimmed 3 of them off because again, I don't have a lot of room, and I needed to take them off. And then
that's a normal thing to do to servos.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I wasn't surprised by that. No. And then I had to also ensure that they were both facing down. Yes. So I actually had to reverse the control for one of my servos. So I learned how to do that too.
That's an important skill to know.
Yes. And actually it's very, very easy in the Free Sky model open TX.
Well, and there's 2 different
software.
Ways to do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I learned that so you can reverse it 2 different ways in 2 different areas of it. One is less efficient than the other. Mm-hmm. So basically what you do is you say it's on page 2, or no, it's on page 3 or 4, depending on what version you have.
No idea.
You basically, when it's all the way left or all the way right, whatever you're adjusting, all the way maxed out positive, you say that that's 100% negative.
Mm.
And then when it's, which will automatically reverse the other side.
Yes.
So when you do one, it will do both. So that's one way. But then the other way is on the next page over, where you can actually
just flip a little toggle.
yeah, you just tell it to be reversed.
Yeah.
And
really
then you
nice.
can also change the weight, which I had to do on the
elevator.
Thank you.
So that it didn't run into the boom.
Yes, which I have to do some modifications on that too. I'm going to trim it because I wasn't getting enough lift, or not enough down. Like it doesn't move. It doesn't move as much as I would like it to back this way. So that is down. Up gives me pretty good.
There's not very many times when you're trying to put your nose down, though.
Well, no.
There shouldn't be.
But it was like when I was out in the field, because I flew today. And
today being Friday.
Yeah, Friday.
Before this comes out.
June 10th.
Is it? Yes, it is the 10th.
No, July 10th.
Oh.
Not June. July 10th. Yeah, Friday, July 10th. I flew today. And I was having a good time. I've got some video of it, and I will put that together. I flew for, Kyle, I was out there for about 40 minutes. So I flew for a little while.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, it wasn't instant. I had a couple, I had one where I basically, I threw it into the wind and I had my nose down instead of up, and that just hit the ground pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
No big deal. I picked it back up, checked everything. I actually had popped. After flying, I seen that there's some slight modifications, like I need to bend the hook that connects to the rudder a little tighter so it holds a little better. Little minor things like that.
Put a Z-bend in it.
Yeah, exactly, because it's just an L right now. So it goes through, and this slides in as an L. It slides through it, and it needs to be a little tighter.
Yeah.
Because even on soft landings, if I hit just right, it would pop that off.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm out there flying, and getting to the point where I'm flying relatively okay. I do need to balance the wings because the little knob for my throws it off, and I don't have. So I do have a tendency to turn to the right
when you throw it.
No, when it's in the air. Like when I can stabilize it, and if I'm not holding it stable, it will go to the. So it's a little bit off weighted, which I was sure it was going to be. So I got to put just a tiny bit of weight on the other side to offset that. And it even in the instructions even say you should.
Oh, okay, cool. I was gonna say that sounds more like rudder trim.
I thought so, but I kept modifying that to get it, and it still, even though my rudder was straight, I would still after a second it would dip in and turn. I had to course correct it the whole time.
It wasn't the wind?
No.
Huh, okay.
No.
Cool.
At least it didn't look like it. Now I'm an inexperienced flyer. Yeah. So I do have some sad news. So like I said, I flew for about 40 minutes on one battery, by the way.
Nice.
And the battery was not a full charge when I went out because I just plugged it back in and was playing with it with my final testing as I was putting everything together. Mm-hmm. I took a fully charged one.
Okay, so you had a backup.
So I had a backup.
Nice.
Well, I flip it up and it comes around and it did do a cartwheel, and I watched the video several times and it doesn't even look that bad. Like the cartwheel, it's not all. It doesn't look like it hits all nose, but apparently it did.
Yeah.
Because I broke my nose. So on the video, you'll see it's the only thing that's holding that on is a piece of tape.
And the servo connections.
And the servo connectors, yeah. I will put the video up and
we can cry together.
Yeah, and I'll have I'll highlight that portion of it rolling, and because I went right to it because it was last thing I did. I was like, oh no, but it didn't look for you on the video. You can see, It didn't look like it hit that hard. It really didn't.
Yeah.
I just think, but the nose is pretty heavy.
Yeah, the nose is pretty heavy. And well, so the boom on this is made out of mandrel wound carbon fiber. So rather than being like a sheet of woven carbon fiber that is then rolled,
Yeah.
it is a string of carbon fiber that is wound around a stick and then glued into shape. And if you look at this break, it's broken right along the seam of one of those winds.
Yep.
So that it is carbon fiber, so it's strong, but those seams are going to be the weak point.
Yeah, which this one was. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to fix that.
I've got some ideas.
So Derek and I will talk about that. But yeah, I was having fun. I mean, I was trying different launches and into the wind, like throw it so I'm throwing opposite the way the wind is blowing, which is into the wind.
Yeah, which is the way you want to throw it.
Yeah, and then I was throwing it with the wind, so the way the wind was blowing.
That's scary.
Honestly, the biggest difference is when I threw it with the wind, it didn't go up. It just flew at the rate at the level that I launched it, right?
Yeah.
If I threw it up, it would go up, but if I didn't throw it up very hard, if I just kept it at a level ground, it flew level.
That makes sense.
And then, but of course, it was pretty windy today, relatively windy.
Yeah, we had some stiff breezes.
And when I would turn into the wind, it would instantly, whichever way was, like if I was going up a little bit, it would shoot up. If I was going down a little bit, it would shoot down.
Yeah.
So I had to be very careful when I turned into the wind, when I threw it against the wind, or into the wind, or with the wind. But when I threw it into the wind, it would instantly go up, except for the one time where I didn't throw it in the right position, and it went instantly down.
Yeah.
But that was like my third or fourth throw, and I threw it a bunch of times. Most of my landings were relatively good. I did cartwheel it 3 times total.
Okay.
Most of them were like a soft nose land with a little bit of a turn, so it comes down on the front end and where all the weight is, and then hit that, and then there's still a little momentum, and it would just spin in the grass. But
that's a good landing.
Yeah. It I almost caught it one time even. That was purely by accident. So I have to now fix my plane.
So let's talk a minute about my plans for helping you fix this, because I already know what we can do.
Okay.
So, as I said, it broke along the spiral of the carbon fiber. And this is like maybe 1/4 of a millimeter thick.
It's not very thick.
It's super, super thin. So super lightweight, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we don't want to put a lot of weight in there.
No.
We could get a piece of round carbon fiber to stick in there. It's expensive. This is a tapered boom, so it's wider at the nose than it is at the tail.
So
that'll be harder to get.
Yeah.
We don't want to use like a hardwood dowel from Home Depot.
Because that'd be too heavy.
It's way too heavy. What we can do is get a balsa wood dowel or balsa wood block
and
shape it down to size, and just like 1/4 inch back and 1/4 inch forward of this break, slip it in there, and then the carbon fiber thread that I use to fix my DLG. So we'll glue the block in place. We'll get it all together, and then we'll wrap the crap out of it with carbon fiber thread, which weighs nothing.
Cool.
Like, I have several yards of it, and the whole thing maybe weighs 2 grams.
Wow, that's actually really light.
It weighs nothing, so we can bog the crap out of this, and all it'll do is take up space.
It will be a challenge because of where it's at.
Yes, because it is right there in the boom, and the boom is glued in, or the pod is glued there.
Yep.
It will be a little tricky. So how are the servos attached? Just by tape?
Right now, just by tape.
Perfect.
And
you can take them off.
Yes. Well, and that's the other thing that I had learned in there. So everything on this is basically held by tape, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of it will, even when I permanently get it done, will be held by tape. But the control arms, the tape, with how hot it was today, the tape just kept getting loose. And I would occasionally lose control once it hit the ground. It would come down, hit the ground, and it would slip. And so I'd have to go back, pull the nose, readjust the tape. While flying, I didn't notice it come loose. But when it hit the ground, if it was a little harder hit, or if it was like a jarring hit, it would slide it.
Well, we can reattach those in the proper positions. I noticed you didn't trim down the.
I did a little bit.
Yeah,
I
you
trimmed
did
them both. I trimmed them both.
Okay.
But not a lot. I trimmed the rudder, about an inch, and the elevator about
them right.
2 inches.
Oh, nice.
And I had to cut the plastic tubing off on both of them.
I figured you would have to.
Yeah, about an inch on the one side and only maybe a 1/4 inch on the other side.
So yeah, we just need to measure out how big that hole is, find some balsa to fit there, shape it, stick it in there, glue it. We will use epoxy for that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, because that stuff's heavy. But we'll use epoxy for that. And then when we wrap it in the carbon fiber thread, we'll just soak it in thin CA, like I did.
Yeah.
And that'll wick through all those fibers and just lock it down.
I'm excited.
It won't go anywhere. So we'll have this up and flying sometime. So you're not coming flying with me on Monday.
I could go, but I don't have anything to fly now.
You won't be flying.
No.
Oh, I have something you can fly. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm back.
So this is a little foam glider.
Yeah. So this is the flight test Sparrow. Just a little V-tail glider, as you can see in the video here. Nothing too fancy. I've had it for 2 years now, but I built it. So my brother gave me and all my siblings kits of these for Christmas one year.
Cool.
And we set them up so that he could drop them off of his larger foam board airplane. It was the best Christmas ever. We had so much fun.
That would be awesome.
But I set mine up so that I could control it after it fell.
Ah.
Everyone else it just glided down.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to take this and slope soar with it and see if it works.
Okay.
So we'll get this set up and you can fly this on Monday.
All right. That sounds cool.
Okay. Carry on.
All right. So, yeah. All in all, I'm definitely a sad day, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the servos. I learned a lot about the receiver, and I learned a lot about my transmitter. And the transmitter was awesome. Like I said, being able to set the weight of how much the servo's going to move
in each direction, like you can adjust.
Yeah, and then you can modify it heavy on one side or heavy on the other side also. The ratio between the two will still be your maximum, whatever you set that to.
Yeah.
But you can then swing it, which I did.
You can offset it one way or the other from center.
Yeah, and that's not including your trim on your controller. This is all set in your model for your transmitter, which is really awesome. So I learned a lot about that. And playing around with and like weight ratio and trying to get things to fit.
We got to show off the wing you got.
Oh yeah, I got a violet wing. Originally I'd ordered a blue, but they apparently had ran out before they filled my order. And they called me and said, "Hey, we're out of blue." And I'm like, "Okay, what colors you got?" And they're like violet and some other colors. And I was like, violet sounds good. And actually, I really like the violet.
It looks great.
Oh, and it looks great flying too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, it looks awesome. And I mean, it is great. So that was my project and my last outing, which just happened to coincide with today.
So painful.
And super sad. But you know what? I take it as a learning. And as long as I can get it fixed, then I'll be happy. And that weak point will no longer be a weak point.
Nope, we'll break it somewhere else.
Yep. Hopefully not, but you know. So what was your last outing? Since we kind of went out of order, you talked about your last project, but what was your last outing?
So my last outing was you and me 2 weeks ago. So right after we recorded the last episode. Yeah. So on the 27th of last month. Oh, my word.
Okay.
We're back. You guys don't know this, but we just had a lot of technical difficulties.
With the power of editing, you'll never know. So, Derek, take us through what you did last.
Okay, my last outing. So, near where we live, there are a bunch of water towers for the surrounding cities. There's a bunch of above-ground towers, or excuse me, not towers. When you think of towers, you think of like the Old West water tower.
Yeah,
that's
not
on
like that.
stilts. No, these are like huge
Tanks.
cylindrical tanks,
Yeah.
above ground tanks. And then
Several
there's-
hundred thousands of gallons.
Yeah, and then there's one huge underground tank
Yes.
that has a huge plot of grass on the top. There's a hill off the north and the west side. And if you catch it in the right wind, I hope I'll be able to slope off of it. Maybe. I have yet to. We went out this not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. So right before we released episode 2.
Yeah.
The wind was coming from the south, but got out there with my glider. Steven was there with his DJI Mavic. Got some awesome video. I got in a whole bunch of flying. We were there for like 2 hours.
Yeah, we got some good flying.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty fun.
I went through both of my batteries. Never actually drained them down to where they're like empty, but went through them.
Yeah.
So I've got that video I need to get through and put out. I also have to finish the video of me fixing the glider because life comes up and I haven't gotten to them yet. But yeah, so we went out and did that. For future outings, my wife is taking the kids and they're going off to a family reunion this coming week. So I'm going to be home alone.
Nice.
So on Monday,
Kind of.
this is what I'm fine with it. I'm staying home because I have work and I don't have the time off work. But so on Monday,
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, this is when I'll tell you because the day this episode comes out, this is what we're doing,
Yes.
what I'm doing, and he might come along.
I'm gonna try to come with you, and we'll see if we can get that other foam glider that we showed.
So we've got this Sparrow. It has no power to no motor, so it's just a glider. We'll get that set up for Steven, but what I want to do is go down in Utah, between Utah and Salt Lake counties. There is the point of the mountain, where the Wasatch Mountains just kind of stick out into the middle of the valleys and split them, and then carries on its way. And this is like a world-class site for slope soaring, be it hang gliders or paragliders. We went out there with my boys a couple of weeks ago, and there was maybe 30, 40 paragliders in the sky.
Yeah, it gets pretty crowded over there.
Oh, yeah. But there's also a section of the hill that is designated RC flying.
That's awesome.
Of course, you have to make way for, manned flight has priority, of course.
Yeah.
Because there's a person up there. But RC planes can go out there and fly. So Monday, I'm going to get home from work, donate plasma, come home, pick up all my stuff, pick up you if you're coming along.
Yep.
And go down to the point of the mountain and see. It's really nice because there's a north slope and a south slope. Then depending on, the wind is always going to, if there's wind, it's coming from one of those two sides.
Yeah.
And you will be able to fly. So long as it's not ridiculously strong, I will be flying. I'm going to take my DSLR. I got a boom mic or a shotgun mic for it. So I'm going to take that out and record some cool video. I'm going to set up on a tripod and stuff. And then if you come along, we'll
bring some of this
We'll
stuff.
bring all the cameras. I'll have my GoPro to get some headshots.
I'll bring mine too, so we can.
And then we'll take we can take turns, and I'll get some good pictures with the DSLR.
Cool. Very awesome.
That is my next outing on Monday night, and then Tuesday is when I'll start work on the EF-16.
So that'll be my next outing also, because I have to fix my DLG before I can.
Yeah, we'll have to find a time next week to do that.
Yeah. So, but we'll try to talk about the fixing of the DLG. Might even get some of that on recording, potentially. But we'll see. So,
any beginner tips for people?
Yes. So I have 2 beginner tips. I was trying to think of a third one, but the first one is go slow. So not just when you're flying, but just when you're working on your equipment, and you're when I was setting up the ELF, I went through the instructions a bunch of times that it came with it. The translation was horrible. Fortunately, they did have pictures.
Yeah, that was a huge help.
Very, very helpful, because the translation was slot good, open, put in nice. What?
It was coming from Russian or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came through terrible, but it came through enough to where you could figure it out.
Yeah, with the pictures you could tell. So, so my first beginner tip: take your time, read through the instructions if it has them.
Yeah.
Look at the pictures if that has them. Familiarize yourself with what's going on.
Oh, that's what I've been doing with the EF16 that I'm going to build.
Yeah.
I've read through the first couple pages of those instructions like 3 or 4 times, just because I want to know where I'm starting.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure I have what I need to actually jump into it.
Yeah. So
yeah.
You know, that's my first one. Go slow. All right. The second one is actually be patient. So it's the same. And that's, I want to emphasize, like every time I figured something out, then I had to figure something else out. So like I took pictures and videos as I progressed through this and send them over to Derek so he could see what I was doing and how good it was going, or slow, actually.
It was slow, but it went great.
It really did. It really did go great. Like I got the rudder to move first, and I was all excited about that. I was like, so I took a video of it.
Getting your first control surface to move, that's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But it did take me a while. I worked on this all week, basically, in some of my not doing something else time, because all my time right now is free. But
yeah, stupid COVID.
So just those two things: take it slow, be patient, and that's what helped me the most. Is I read through the instructions. I had to look up the instructions on the TARANIS also to figure out how to reverse it.
Thankfully, there's like a billion videos out there where people explain it to you.
It did take me 2 videos to find one that actually showed it. And then I actually even looked up videos on the elf, and they're all like just flying it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of build videos on the elf, but like really quick insertion, like plug for a YouTube channel. When it comes to setting up and working with free sky radios, there's a channel called Painless 360. So the word painless 360.
I'll be honest, I don't know.
He does an amazing job.
Which video I was looking at or who it was, because I went through the instructions and, briefly through the instructions, because there's a lot of instructions and they're poorly written also.
Yeah. The free sky instructions, like the OpenTX instructions, are pretty vague.
Yeah. And so, but once you start like going in there and diving down and understanding what the control is doing, it's actually, you only need to understand 3 concepts with it.
Okay.
Because it's the same thing for every channel.
Oh, yeah.
You just tell it which control it's being attached to. So you have throttle, and you have what is it? The A1. It's the ones on the wings. Then you have your elevator and your rudder.
So many times.
Yeah, but I can't remember. What are they on the wings?
Aileron.
Ailerons. Yes, I knew it started with an A. And those are your 3. Those are your 3. Those are your 4 controls that are on your sticks.
Yeah.
And then you can set up the switches and stuff like that. And I'm gonna start diving into that a little bit more too.
Yeah.
But so my 2 beginner tips are go slow and be patient.
Yeah.
Because there was a bunch of times where I'm just like, okay, let's just push this off to the side. And I was, watching some videos or playing some video games for a minute, took a minute, just stepped away from it for a second. It's not like I was getting frustrated. It was going slow. And I like to go. So that's my beginner tips, is be patient and go slow.
There you go. Those are good tips.
So I was trying to think of a third one that was basically the same, but I couldn't.
You've got 2 that are basically the same. I think you're good.
So I'm not aware of any new events coming up.
I haven't seen anything. I think, so we've covered the main events in our last episode. We've got Soar Utah, Best, Ceph, and the other ones that I listed. Go ahead and check our last episode's show notes for those. We'll post them again in this one just to so you can check back to those forum threads and keep updated. But I haven't seen any updates on those yet. I've been watching the RC Group's forums. aside from regular club meetups that happen around the local area, there's not much going on.
Yeah. So
not much there. There was, so the FAA is holding huge conference. They did the first session last week about drones and how they're here to stay, and basically them pushing their remote ID and how they're going to get it all to communicate, or how they're going to do stuff. I wasn't able to watch it. I know RC Roundtable podcast was able to watch the first session, and they weren't too happy with how it was going. It seemed pretty ridiculous, but they'll give a report in their episode, I'm sure. So I'll go back and listen to that. And then they have another one coming up in August.
okay.
If you get on the RC Group's website, you can find the article listing for the, or you can get on the FAA website and probably find it there.
That's what I'm gonna have to do, is go through and look at that and see what's being changed.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know the subject matter other than the fact of drones. And again, it only showed a picture of a quadcopter.
Yeah.
Or a multi-rotor, excuse me.
Yeah, multi-rotor.
Yeah.
So I don't know like how much that's going to affect anything outside of, so single prop or double prop. I don't know if that's going to, or it shouldn't even affect gliders at all, because
Yeah. Well, and that's the nice thing about these gliders, is because with the remote ID, it has that weight rating of 250 grams to 55 pounds.
yeah,
These are well below the 250.
yes, even fully weighted up and everything.
So it doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
But
well,
it
doesn't matter as much.
Yeah. There's still things that apply, but you don't have to.
You
there's
still
less
have
to worry about.
So, general rule of thumb is you're not supposed to fly over people. You're not supposed to fly over vehicles.
Buildings, vehicles, streets.
You can fly over buildings,
That's
but
true.
you are supposed to maintain line of sight. So
Yeah.
if you can't see it, and this goes true for all flyers.
Yeah.
And so those little things, and then manned aircraft have right of way no matter where you're at.
Yes, absolutely.
So those are some of the simple basics when you're out flying
and then
that
you
you
also
need to
have,
remember.
Yeah, and then you also have the ceiling limit of 400 feet.
400 meters.
Feet.
Yeah, 400 feet.
Because a lot of people are upset that's really low.
It really is. But you can still do a lot. For drones, it's not as big of a deal. I think it's more for flyers, for
Fixed wing.
Fixed wing
Oh, yeah,
flyers.
because when you get into the big gliders,
Yeah,
or like the scale gas airplanes,
yeah,
you need a lot of room.
you need to get up there.
Like 400 feet is your minimum altitude.
Yeah, and you're 3 mistake high. You're not 3 mistake high
Yeah,
when
that's
you're
half a
flying.
Yeah,
that's half a mistake.
When you've got a 19-foot wingspan B-17,
Yeah.
that's half a mistake.
So just be aware. That's federal stuff, which means the states are following the same.
Yeah.
So again, if you're watching this in the United States, that's where we're gearing this to. If we ever fly abroad, then
It'll probably be for a glider competition.
yeah, if anything.
But that's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
I can't imagine, because my glider's broken.
Well, and also a discus launch glider has to be 1.5 meters for competition.
Oh, it has to be the bigger one?
Mhm.
Well, I got to learn how to fly. No, I got to learn how to land.
Yes.
Flying was relatively easy, and it hit the ground every time.
Well, yeah, it's going to. It has weight.
But at the velocity that I was choosing was the difference.
And the angle of attack.
Yeah, angle attack. I attacked the ground pretty hard a couple times. And the one that it broke on was not that hard, but it had to have been just perfect.
Just weak enough
Yeah.
at that point, yeah. All right.
So,
We'll keep you updated as we learn more about that stuff.
yeah, stay tuned on that.
The remote ID, they're in the reviewing of comments period, so it could be months before anything comes from
Potentially
that.
could even be years.
It could
because the FAA is not, it's not quick
No.
to react. And they are doing a lot of talking with the community about it, which is a good thing, which means we need to be involved in it.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
if I can find the link to the information between now and when this gets posted, we'll get it in the show note or in the description, so you can go and check it out.
Yeah.
Because it's important. If you're getting into this hobby, you want to make sure that you're following the rules, because we want it to be fun and safe for everybody, and we don't want anybody to accidentally cause problems because they don't know the rules.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the key here, is we want to keep it fun, keep it going, and make sure that those that want to fly can continue to fly in the future without having to fork out thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Unless you want to. But we don't want you to have to do that.
I'm really close to the $1,000 mark right now.
For my fixed wing, I'm not. But
just in RC stuff in general, I'm getting pretty close.
Yeah, in RC stuff, I'm way over the mark.
Well, yeah, your drone put you over the mark.
Yes, it did. Which is still fun to fly. So, let's see. That pretty much finishes up everything we have on our show notes. So,
I think that's about it. Yeah.
All right.
Like, if you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button, all the buttons.
Yep.
Let us know what you think. If you want to share any of your stories,
let us know.
Yeah, put it in the comments. Send us an email, rclawnchairpilots@gmail.com.
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Yep.
We post updates on our projects and our adventures there. Yeah.
He's better at posting it than I am, but
I've posted there like 3 times outside of the regular episodes.
And that's still better than me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I put up a picture. We put up a picture of working on the glider.
Yeah, we did.
The first day we worked on it here.
And I want to put up the little snippets of the different progression that I've had.
Do it.
So.
Awesome. So, yeah. Those usually go up while they're happening. So follow us there so you can catch us on our updates.
Yep.
So. All right. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, remember, when inverted, up is down and down is expensive. RPM is how hard you hit the ground, and torque is how far you have to dig to get yourself out.